Hey everyone, it's Chris Loud. In this video, I'm gonna do two quick expressive abstract painting demos with botanical inspiration based on a prompt. The guidelines for the prompt are as follows. You have 20 minutes to paint for each painting you do. Obviously, I sped this video up. For paint colors, you can choose one blue, one red, and one yellow, so one of each primary color, as well as black and white. And the goal is to create an expressive abstract or semi-abstract painting with a botanical twist. And if you're looking for more abstract painting prompts, I'll leave a link in the description for the 50 abstract warm-up painting prompts download, which I think is a great resource for loosening up and sparking new ideas. At the end of the video, I'll show you close-ups of each painting as well as the final paintings in different orientations. So painting expressively with botanical inspiration is a great way to find that balance between structure and freedom. We can take organic forms from nature, the curves of stems, the movement of leaves, the burst of color from wildflowers, and interpret them in an intuitive, abstract way. So for the first painting, I leaned into soft layering and contrast, letting the background create an atmospheric, almost weathered effect. I started by putting down a layer of brilliant blue and a little Mars black with a silicone bowl scraper, and that contrast between the cool blue tones underneath and the warmth of vermilion and lemon yellow that I'll bring in here in a minute helped make the composition feel vibrant and dynamic. I dried in between layers to make sure I wasn't smearing too much, and then I used a fine tip applicator to put down some black marks to help break up the space, and gently went over that paint with a brayer, just enough to suggest the idea of leaves or stems. And then I brought in a stick that I grabbed from the backyard and dipped that in some Mars black paint, and use that to create a loose kind of gestural feel, like wild grass rather than something carefully placed. And they also bring in some small color shapers that are more like almost like a paintbrush in size. Something I typically don't use that much, but wanted to experiment with it. So you'll see that here shortly, and I'll play with that when I start putting down some of the red. But at this point, this is just intuitive. I'm just kind of playing. You can see that it definitely has kind of a look of grass or stems and leaves, kind of that has the essence of something in nature, some kind of botanical, some kind of plant there. And those are those color shapers there. And just taking a look at the ends to see what I wanted to play with. So I'm going to start using this tool to just loosely put down some of this vermilion, and I'll bring in some of the lemon yellow as well. And I kind of want to just have a soft end on these that kind of gave this impression of flowers. This is obviously, I'm not going for realism here. So I said in the beginning semi-abstract, and I would consider this kind of a semi-abstract, more of a representational abstract. So one of the best parts about working abstractly with botanical inspiration is how it allows for spontaneity. Nature is just full of fluid, organic movement. Stems bending in the wind, or petals, aiming or opening toward the light, and tangled vines, growing in unexpected ways, and there's no need to be precise. Instead, it's about capturing the essence of that movement. What I love about this process is that it helps us break free from overthinking. There's no right or wrong way to do it, just a response to color, marks, and in composition. So, doing this, I'm kind of stepping back and taking a look, composition-wise, at what I wanted to do. If I had any kind of direction as far as the composition goes, and really have that one bright, I'm just going to call it a flower off to the left there, that is close to kind of the rule of thirds, maybe a little low, but it works enough. I mean, it's kind of also that kind of imbalance where you've got so much on the right and just this one flower on the left that I think makes this kind of an engaging painting. So just kept working a little bit with these colors and playing with adding a little bit of the blue and in the black to the red, just to get a little bit of variety in the values here for these. But again, all the while, just had to keep reminding myself, I'm not trying to make a flower. I'm just, I'm just putting some interest in, so they're not all the same. So I'll take the tape off here, kind of flip it around a little bit, and then we'll move on to the second painting, and I'll show you the final version of this and some close-ups at the end. So the second painting had a completely different energy, more chaotic, more expressive. I would say this is more along the lines of how I normally paint. Instead of building up layers gradually, I let all three primary colors mix and interact right from the start. Just started my background with all three of those colors just to get that down, to play and see what that would look like after I started covering that up again. And again, wanting to let some of that show through. And expressive abstracts like this are a great way to explore color relationships. The way blue, red, and yellow blend and overlap creates, unexpected depth and movement. The layering of titanium white over sections of that bright base helps soften certain areas while still allowing some of that energy to shine through. And I really wanted that to be kind of a rough look over top. Again, kind of that weathered look. And I'm going to bring in a spray bottle and spray some water droplets down because I was thinking, well, that would be a great way to let some of those colors pop through a little bit. And then just took a mop brush to start brushing away some of those water drops. And I'll tell you that by the end of this painting, I started applying so much paint and started really getting into it that a lot of these droplets get covered up. Only in the upper portion will some of that still show through. And then grabbed a palette knife and just started the expressive part of this, really just starting to scratch through. I wanted to let some of those colors come through in those scratches. Again, I think a lot of those get covered up by the end. At some point, I just get too into throwing paint down and playing. I grabbed the fine tip applicator with some Mars Black and a little water in there to thin it out. And put that down, and then grabbed a wooden chopstick, and just started kind of scratching through and spreading that around. Again, just trying to get that expressive part of this coming out. And here's where it really kind of I really started having a lot of fun. Just grabbed a color shaper and started pulling paint from the palette. I didn't care if it mixed up. I just was kind of slapping it down and just trying to make a lot of different strokes here and movement and create kind of another layer of chaos with this and all of these colors on the top layer. And one of my favorite things about using botanical inspiration in abstract painting is the way that it encourages experimentation. Because nature itself is just full of textures and patterns and rhythms, and this process lets us really play with different tools. I mean, I used a chopstick and some smaller color shapers that I normally don't use. So you get to use those different tools and techniques to mimic that organic feel. Scraping into the wet paint with a palette knife created more visual interest, I think. And same with this color shaper. It's putting these wild kind of chaotic lines and movements and strokes all around this piece. And, this piece became less about direct botanical forms and more about energy and mark making and letting the impression of organic shapes come through naturally rather than forcing them. And honestly, it's fun, just not really thinking about it, grabbing paint and just kind of slinging it around on the surface. You can always go back and paint over, but that's, I think, some of the best ways to create energy in a piece is to just start moving your brush and stop overthinking and stop, putting so much attention to it. And that's the beauty of expressive abstract. Sometimes the best results come when we step back and let the painting tell us where to go next. So both of these paintings have a botanical feel, but they aren't about realism. Instead, they focus on movement and texture and emotion. To me, they kind of resemble California poppies, or maybe they're just an explosion of color and form. That's the fun part. We don't have to define it too much. And painting expressively with nature as inspiration is a great way to loosen up and trust yourself and trust the process of painting, and experiment with texture and layering, and find the balance between control and spontaneity. Deepen our connection to organic movement and natural rhythms. So if you're feeling stuck or overthinking your work, try this approach. Let the marks flow, let the colors mix freely, and most importantly, enjoy the process. Enjoy letting yourself paint and just be free about it. So if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions or feedback, feel free to put those in the comments. Here's some close-ups of the first painting, and I'll show you the final paintings in different orientations. And I think this one actually works in different orientations, much more than the second one. But I think like I said, the second one has a lot more energy. And here's some close-ups too for that second painting there, so you can see more of the colors and more of kind of the chaos in there. And here's the final painting. And like I said, different orientations, I'm not sure it works too much, but I'm sure if you guys see something, you'll let me know. Thanks for watching, and keep on painting.